30th annual meeting for the National Alliance of Families for the Return of America's Missing Servicemen. And thank you for our afternoon session. I would like to start this off with a quote. It's by Bo Gritz. "I went overseas hoping to prove that all our POWs were home. I came back convinced that they were still alive." And that's from a gentleman that's in the know. And now I'd like to hand this over to Nicolette Apodaca-Rose for a presentation. Thank you.
Hello. So if you guys can look at the screen, this is our new website. And for those of you who knew what our old website looked like, which was started in the early 90s, you will know that it was clunky because it was the 90s. And to get all of that data and information was an arduous task. We hired somebody originally, and that person had some personal life issues and ethical issues, didn't finish the project properly, and my dear husband and I drove down to Wyoming to find him because we're good at hunting people down. And then when he was not home, left him a lovely letter explaining that he needed to fix some things, and if he wasn't going to fix some things, that we were going to report him to the Better Business Bureau. Which is what we ended up doing. But in the meantime, we wanted to make sure that we still had access to all of our information because, as you know, that's decades upon decades upon decades upon decades worth of data. And I, as much as I run the social media stuff, I am not the person to build a website. And when I first started dating Kiva Shirley, I politely informed him within my first 6 months that come June, that he would be either with me or my family and the National Alliance of Families, and all of the POWMIA issue was probably going to scare him because this is part of my life, and I wanted to give him the opportunity to know that if we continued on in our relationship, that that was going to be something that was going to be our life together. And he was like, sure. Because he was prior service, he figured he kind of had an idea, except for when he went off to work in England, then came back, and then had to show up here for our meeting. He walked in and was like, this is not what I learned. Holy cow. And as people who've been with the Alliance know, the Advocate of the Year usually goes to somebody who's not a family member. And the board of directors had a conversation about what this looks like now that we're 30, 40, 50 years into it. What does that mean? Because a primary next of kin used to be a parent, it used to be a son or a daughter, and now we're talking about 3 and 4 generations removed. On my father's side, I have a great cousin who was 18 when he was lost on the USS Oklahoma. His youngest brother is right now the primary next of kin, is about to be 89. And when he passes, who's that going to be? It might be one of his kids, or it might be me because I just have been more involved in the POWMIA issue, just to help. But you're talking about generations removed. And I'm already generations removed from my uncle who I never met. And so when somebody marries into that family, is that a family member who's not considered an advocate? Well, this year the board of directors decided to nominate Kiva Shirley as the Advocate of the Year. And everybody agreed that as much as he is married into the family, that he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to take it on. He could still marry me and stay at home and eat bonbons, but instead he likes chocolate, I do not. But he decided to build the new website, which has taken hours upon hours, and those of you who know us personally know that we don't have a whole lot of time. So he stayed up late hours on his own and working with me, and I do research, and he's building the website and gathering stuff and making sure that it's all there for decades to come. And so I would like to bring up my husband, Kiva Shirley. It is our 30th annual POWMIA Advocate of the Year, and this was made in America in Billings, Montana. I lied to you several times about where I was going. So we work in the same office, so when I was sneaking out to go look at things and do things, it might have been to go down the street to make sure that this was getting done properly. And it's leather. This is the first time that they've ever done a plaque like this, and I really like it. So, Mr. Shirley.
One, very surprised. I mean, not that, I really don't keep up with what she's doing at work because I don't have the time for that. But
Unless I'm telling him what he needs to do for work.
yes, it's a big honor. Growing up with my family, I had the opportunity that all of my family members that I knew of served in the military return. They were never captured. There was never a question as to where they were at whatever time. So I never had the sense of loss of not knowing where a family member was. Aware of the training that they gave us, aware of the issue. I'd seen TV shows, movies. It doesn't. The interesting thing is how much more probably realistic some of those are that people in the know actually realize, even though it's being fictionalized in the sense of what was actually going on. It's my honor to be here to do this. So, with that, I'll just say thank you because I'm actually running the camera, so I gotta get back to that one anyway. But no, it's an honor for me to do this. I mean, as I said, I want to make sure that I can preserve this stuff for posterity's sake, to make it accessible to everybody. Because I realize that information is out there. You have to find it because it's not always going to be there. I think with the reorganization of what is now the DPAA. Showed they wiped everything else away that they had for years, and it's easy for them to just flip the switch and ignore that it ever actually happened or they ever posted it. And so without doing the capture, without collecting what we can now, saving it ourselves and making it available, it may not be available tomorrow or next week or next year. So it's the very least I can do to make sure that we keep the information available for all. Yes, sir.
So
Any questions?
I hadn't heard this before.
Okay.
Of course, I have heard a lot of it. But they're actually erasing all that stuff like they made that one dump of all of the POW
When they, if you go back, I mean, the DPA site only goes back to what it was, and the previous site is, I mean,
Yeah, so-
we could find it maybe on like Wayback Machine or things through there where maybe it was archived, but even going back to the Alliance website, there are documents that are missing because of how the site was previously and it was lost over time. And even going back into some of the web archive sites, that specific document may not have been actually captured. So it's a process of just going back and trying hopefully to find it. And once I find it, then we have it and I can make sure that it's made available. But it's the hard part. You never know when the government's going to change their mind on something like say global warming, and all of a sudden, all the data that they previously stated that caused something is now gone because it doesn't fit with their policies or their what word they want to get out. And I mean, you all know about they don't want to talk about the POWMI issue because it's embarrassing to them and anything that we
They're
bring
just
up.
waiting for the guys to all die.
They are. And as much as we were talking about this morning, they just wait for long enough so that the documents get shredded, and then they have nothing left to give you. It's like they're making the effort to more prevent you from learning it, so they don't have to let you know.
Did you need anything from the old Bamboo Connection and the U.S. Veterans Dispatch? I think I have all of those.
I
And I have some from the old live POW committee too, which preceded the deal.
That would be great. And I know you said you had bins of documents and things like that. Those stuff like that to get scanned in and saved. Whether we do it or
Who knows how to scan?
well, we'll get it on the fax machine and then we'll go from there. So.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
were at Fort Minor the other day because of the thrift shop there. And the thrift shop in there has the most amazing book collection that you will ever find. And I happened to find a huge 1952 to 1975 Vietnam book. It's literally this thick and it has a seat. and it has all of the declassified stuff in there. So if you want a copy of it, he has it.
We'll give, that would be great. As I said, I'm just trying to make sure that we have this available not only for everybody here, you know, everybody that, you know, the message gets out to on Facebook and through the internet. You know, as I said, the website is great because it's very easy to add things to it. I'm documenting everything that we're doing here with the annual meetings, with the presentation of Rolling Thunder. The biggest thing is just to make sure that that information is available for others. So.
Yeah, so this is extraordinarily timely. Norm Cass, who works with us, as you all know, and on the POW Investigator Project, is furious because EPA took a lot of the Joint Commission, U.S.-Russian
That's actually
materials
what
off. So he was
one of the
looking
first
for it
things
to
I
help our
noticed.
project, they were gone.
Yeah.
And also Diana West, whom John and Mike know. Yeah, is a well-known columnist and author. She was just asking for information on the Larson shredding party. And if anybody here has anything on that, I'd love to get you in charge with that. But that's like a key moment in history that only you all will be able to, you know, share with historians and others.
Yeah, so unfortunately, one of the things that when I was going onto DPA's site to look at stuff that used to be hyperlinked, because that was the thing on old original sites, is our site, DPMO site did the same thing. They're like, and then there was this news report, so let me give you the hyperlink so you can just go directly to CNN or whatever. Well, when CNN restructures or Washington Times restructures, that hyperlink no longer works. And a lot of our old Alliance website had stuff where it was hyperlinked over, and the stuff doesn't exist anymore. And one of the things that was I first noticed was the U.S. Joint Russian. That whole set was just gone, wiped off of DPA's site. And so we were able to find some of the old files. However, it took probably weeks between the two of us. I was going through, I had a mimicked hard drive from when Lynn O'Shea passed away, of her hard drive that had died on her computer because her laptop just ate it, I think, like 2 or 3 times before she passed away. And so to try and find all of that stuff inside, we were able to pull some of it and doing some, there's a thing called the Wayback Machine, and to go and look for screenshots and for stuff like that. And so he would take screenshots, and if we couldn't find the actual documents anymore, if the Wayback Machine had screenshots of it, and he would take screenshots and then we would save it into a PDF so that we could put it on ours. And thankfully, Google right now has a Google for Nonprofits. And so it's free, and that's how we built our site. And our email system is now through there. And we get a decent amount of free storage as well, because as you know, those are not small documents. And the other thing that I was going to say, but his aunt and uncle actually just had to leave. That's who I was waiting to. So,
In honor, so knowing, being the 30th anniversary and the importance of what the Alliance has done, my uncle, after his retirement, has gotten, done more painting-wise. And so I had reached out to him previously, and I asked if it might be something that he could find, something with Rolling Thunder coming up, and if he could actually get the newspaper and, maybe do a drawing of Junior. And so when we got here and they had the Washington Times layout with, this year's list of speakers and everything, he came to the hotel, picked up a copy of this, went back, and over the last several days, actually worked to complete this, charcoal drawing of some of the images that, I have of Junior. And so they came in at lunch to surprise Janella, and neither of them knew that I was asking them to do this. And it's really amazing. And so we'll have it here for everybody to kind of see. And he didn't post it on Facebook. He does a lot of his artwork on Facebook now. And but he wanted to keep it as a surprise also. So it's nice.
And so obviously that was just kind of like the icing on the cake of why he deserved to get the Activist of the Year. And
Yes.
now I'm going to hand it back over to my Mima so she can introduce some other people.
How about